We're live, we're live, we're live. We are live, and we do have a topic today. We will be right back to talk about it. Back in a moment.
Good morning. My name is Brian McNeill.
And I am Lisa Santiago McNeill.
And thank you for joining us on our show, Let's Talk About It. We come to each Monday through Friday right here on the SIBN network, on iHeartRadio, YouTube, TuneIn, as well as Facebook Live. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Like. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Like. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning, Miss Phyllis. Good morning, Vivian. Good morning to each of you out there. If you say good morning to us, then we will know that you're here, and we will get to respond in kind. Good morning, Katura.
Good morning, everyone. How you guys doing? This is Monday morning. We're excited to be back here. And I want you to be excited too, because Monday represents possibilities.
Absolutely. Monday represents positive possibilities. It actually can represent every possibility, even infinite possibilities.
And we're going to talk about it.
And we are going to talk about it. So this weekend? Yeah, it was this weekend. So this weekend, Brian and I watched a movie that he picked out, and it was a suspense movie.
Mm-hmm. It's called The Ice Road.
The Ice Road. Now, this movie was full of suspense the entire time, and it was almost an impossible situation. And it is what I am using to pull insight for today's broadcast. We're going to talk about infinite possibilities. So you'll hear a little bit about the Ice Road, and you'll hear a little bit about my dream. So on this morning or last night, somewhere in there, I was having a series of dreams that were musings, you could say, or you could even call them variations, right?
Okay.
So I was going through the night from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene from about 3 o'clock in the morning, from variation to variation to variation to variation. And then I realized that if there was any place in my world that I did not have to worry, it would be in my dreams. Because in my dreams, I can create anything. I remember one time, I don't remember where it was that I heard this, but I remember one time talking about being chased after in a dream and then being told, stop, turn around, get bigger.
Okay.
And chase them back. Like, do whatever you want in your dream. In your dream, you can make anything happen. So because I have that, like, that inclination or that thought in my mind that in your dreams, you can do anything. You can fly. You can leap tall buildings in a single bound. You can do anything, right? So why would I be wasting my dream worrying?
Exactly.
Right?
That's
so why
the expression, in your dreams, you know. You think you're going to beat me? In your dreams.
Yeah, in your dreams, you can make anything happen.
That's right.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning. Good morning,
Phyllis,
Dr. Deborah.
Good morning, Katura.
So,
good morning, Dr. Deborah. How you guys?
So somewhere around 4, I reminded myself that you're dreaming, you're imagining. So why not imagine it the way that you want it and make that happen? And so I began to imagine just shifting that first dream that I was working on. I began to imagine the outcome positive. And I began to imagine the outcome positive, and then that dream faded. And then another dream came in that again started out as a variation, but I already have my toolkit out. So variation, you got to go. And I applied the positive imagination to it, and I created another scenario that the outcome was preferred.
You know, it's a funny thing about that. I confessed on this show last week that I had one morning where I woke up imagining the worst moments of my life, you know, and I couldn't shake it. And then I realized, I can shake this. I can just on purpose, especially during alpha time, waking up and going to bed, just start thinking about something positive. And when I started doing that, it took maybe a day or two max.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even if I try to have up those negative thoughts, the positive stuff that I input, push those away. They don't leave any room for it. I was allowing myself to think negative last night. The positive superseded it.
Absolutely.
Because I sparked it or pushed it or engaged it, whatever. When you engage that thought that the good can happen,
mm-hmm.
that it's possible. When you engage that thought, use your imagination to get to imagine the desired outcome versus the undesired outcome.
Absolutely. So then take that thought to the next level, right? So one of the things is I am preparing for the showcase of this batch of authors that I have. And in that preparation, I have been like trying to make it a cohesive calling, right? They're not all children's book authors. They're not all self-help authors. They're not all whatever kind of authors, but there is one pervasive theme with all of them. And that is they chose their outcome. Okay. They all chose their path. They chose to overcome versus being overcame. Good morning, George. Thank you for joining. You're becoming quite regular. Yes.
Pastor George Allen, good morning to you, sir.
Yes, we're glad that you're here hanging out with us. So that being said, I began to think, well, what ingredients then are necessary to create infinite possibilities? And we're going to add the caveat that these are infinite positive possibilities, because you actually have infinite possibilities for just about anything. But we're going to focus on infinite positive possibilities.
Can help us to have infinite positive possibilities.
To create infinite positive possibilities. Now, again, going back to the movie we saw, what's the name of that movie again?
The Ice Road.
The Ice Road. In this movie, spoiler alert, I don't know if it's a new movie or old movie or whatever, but we're going to talk about this movie, period. So if you want to watch it, I'm not keeping anything back. So then go watch it and come back and watch the replay or whatever. Anyway, in the movie.
Before you go there, I got to tell you, Lisa was totally riveted. The movie didn't get great reviews, but it was great in my home. My wife had to stand up a couple of times, and she was full of, oh my gosh, and I can't believe it, what, and all that kind of for the whole movie. So she was fully engaged. I mean, she literally had to stand up a few times.
Yes, I stood up several times. Like, okay. What? Okay. So here's why. It was filled with impossible situations. It was filled with impossible situations that it would have been realistic to say, finite. Can't do it. This is it. It's over. It actually started out that way. The very beginning was, nope, we don't have no drivers. Nope, we don't go at this time of the year. Nope. Right? That was the beginning. That's the first impossibility. And then
I know those people. I know their families. I care about them.
So that was a challenge, right? So this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about how to generate infinite possibilities to accomplish the purpose that you want to create, the outcome that you want to create, right? So it started with the situation or a challenge. Okay. In this particular movie. It started with the challenge. The challenge was the mine had collapsed with people inside, I think 27 people inside or whatever, and they had X amount of air left before they would die inside, and they needed a piece of equipment in order to drill and release these people. And they had to get there within X amount of time with this big heavy equipment. They had to be what else they have to do? They have to get there. They have to traverse ice road. That's not an icy road. It's a road made of ice.
On top of water.
On top of water, right?
This time of year, yes.
At the time of year, number 3, that there is melting happening. It's after, is it April already?
Yes, it's a little bit late.
It's a little bit late in the year. So the ice is not as dense as it would normally be.
It was later.
Whatever it was, right? So it's warmer. All right. So now you've got this impossible situation, but you've got to create the outcome that you want with it. Now, imagine if that was you in that situation, because some of you may have situations like that, right? You might not have an icy road, but you may have a debt that you have to pay. You might not have an icy road,
Right.
but you may have an illness that you're challenged with.
A class you gotta pass.
You might not have an icy road, but you may have a different ability, right? Whatever those things are, imagine now, put that challenge. Good morning, Felicia. Oh, well, we miss you and we're glad that you come when you can. She says, good morning, beautiful people. I miss you guys. My work schedule changed and I'll get on when I can. Well, we're glad that you're here today, Felicia. So
Yes, we are.
Infinite possibilities then.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to overcome a mind block or a possibility block when you need to come up with a solution? Now, like I said, their concern was a big challenge. The big challenge was there's 27 people that will die if we don't get there within X amount of times, but we have heavy equipment, icy roads, thin ice, and there was another issue. They had people that were actually sabotaging them.
Yes.
Along the way.
26 people. 26?
Mm-hmm. So, okay, 26.
That's
26.
when we banged on the pipes.
Yep.
There's 26 of us.
26 of us.
Yep.
There you go. So now imagine that you're in that situation. Imagine that is that serious. First of all, sometimes life or death is the greatest ingredient for coming up with an infinite possibility, life and death situation.
Okay, so what we're doing, so you guys can play along.
So you can play along.
You know, when you have a challenge, when you have a possibility block, when you allow that to happen in your head, there's no way this can happen. We're summating that there are some ingredients that you can pour into your life that will release that possibility block and actually make it more likely that challenge gets done. Makes it more likely that challenge gets done, even if you initially thought no way or there's a block. Which
is actually what Lawrence Fishburne, his initial response was, nope, sorry, I can't do it. Bye. His initial response was, there's no way. Everybody's gone home. There's no drivers here.
The guy said, what about this? Didn't you hear me? There's no.
There's no. And then the guy walks away and he calls him back. What happened in that moment was he remembered he knew some of those people that were in there.
And then the idea of possible came to him.
That's right. So what do you need? What will trigger there's got to be possibility. What will trigger or activate your faith in the possibility? Because that's ultimately what it is.
Listening to Lisa so far today, you've already thought of that time in your life that it was impossible, but was made possible.
Right. That's a good way to also activate your infinite possibilities.
To remember.
Is to remember.
That other time.
Remember.
You thought your life was over, but it wasn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can jump in at any time. If you think of a moment or think of a thing, a characteristic or an ingredient that you may have leveraged in the past that charge your imagination for possibility. Experience often does that. Experience often does that.
I in my mid-20s, my wife, I had 2 toddlers. My wife stayed home. I made all the money. And I was an over-the-road salesperson. I would drive to my clients. And sometimes I would drive to another city, like an hour away. Like I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. Fayetteville was about an hour away. And I was hard-headed too, as my young 20s. I got pulled over by the cops for an expired inspection sticker. And they had a court date for me to show up. And all I had to do was get the inspection sticker updated and show up to court to show it to them. So I got the inspection sticker updated. But on the day of court, I didn't feel like going. So I just didn't go. Okay. And they suspended my license for 30 days. And I didn't know they suspended my license until I went to a license check going to see my mother. So your license is suspended. You can't drive until you go to court and handle this. I was like, cool, no problem. But I kept driving anyway because I had to bring in money. There was no other way to bring in money. I had to go to my clients. And I got caught again.
There's no other way.
Well, at least in my 25, 26-year-old brain at the time. No,
absolutely. But I wanted to point that out. That is a common initial thought when faced with any challenge. When faced with any situation, oftentimes we immediately go to, there's no other way.
Good morning, Dr. Deborah. Good morning, Dr. Beverly. So I'm driving anyway. Now, I've already been caught twice driving illegally, and they suspended it from 30 days to 6 months, and the third time was a year. Okay. Happened 3 times to me. And guess how much I stopped driving? Not at all. I kept driving anyway. So I happened to be an hour and a half away from home in another city, Fayetteville, and I'm going through town. I'm at a traffic light, and then I'm going through town, and then the turn I need is up there, and it actually has a turning lane. So I go from the left lane, get into the turning lane. And as soon as I get into the turning lane, another car came from behind me, crashes into me. Okay. I moved over. I had my signal on. I moved over. I was totally in the right, but I got hit from the back. And because I had an expired suspended license, that made me now wrong. Okay. And I sat in that car thinking, I'm away from home. I've had a car accident. They told me, I was afraid I was going to get thrown in jail. I got a wife and 2 little kids at home depending upon me. My life is over. This is it. This is terrible. The weight of the world crashed on me. I probably was 25, I think. Oh, this is terrible. What am I going to do about my family back home? And they're not going to know they can't come and get me. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And they put me in front of a magistrate. They gave me a fine. I drove my car back home. And it was fine. But that moment I thought it was over completely, but it wasn't. I took a long way to tell you all that. That moment, it's not over.
Absolutely. But you know that there are some situations that don't just resolve themselves like that. There are some situations that the answer doesn't just come, that you actually have to pursue it.
And that's what Beverly says. She says, good morning, great people with contagious smiles and hearts to share.
Amen. Good morning. Dr. Deborah says, at times I have even thought there is no way, ending all possibilities. Yes. Absolutely. There is no way. Thought really does close the door on a lot of things. But here's what can open that door again. Here's some things that I thought about. So I thought about what actually activated in this particular scenario with the movie Ice Road, what activated the necessity for even allowing a possibility to become illuminated?
The first one, the main character, Liam Neeson, he's taking care of his adult brother, and he gets fired from his job, and he doesn't know what he's going to do for money. It's late in the year. He's a truck driver. He doesn't see any jobs. He can't get hired. He's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? He was worried, genuinely worried. And then he saw a text, urgent truckers needed. And then it sparked him again. Maybe this is a way, so he needed money more than anything. That was his first motivation.
Absolutely. That was Liam Neeson's character's motivation, was he needed money. And actually, if I were to double down on that, he needed provision to provide for himself and his brother. And I know that still equates to money, but sometimes money doesn't have a high enough vibration.
Yes, not by
in
itself.
and of itself.
Matter of fact, I'm going to go so far as to say rarely by itself is money a strong enough motivator. It doesn't pull you by itself, because we can so easily imagine taking that money and paying somebody else. Right. So it doesn't have any reach, not by itself. It needs something attached to it. His thing attached to his brother, he wanted his brother to get some care. He even entered him into a facility that can care for him, and then took him right back out because he ain't like, how they want to take care of his brother.
Right. So there's one of the main ingredients for activating your possibilities to the extent that they bring forth the outcome that you want. Love.
Well, it was money first and then love. Yeah. Oh, love attached to the money. That's right, baby. Love. if you love something, haven't you already seen and done incredible things
because of love,
because you loved your children or because you loved your spouse. You have endured some amazing things, and many of you mothers and some of you fathers too have made miracles happen because you love your children.
But think about the stories that we've heard. I think I heard them back in the 80s of mothers that lifted trucks off of their
when the
children.
Incredible Hulk was on, yes, they talked about that incredible strength in times of necessity.
Necessity is another big one.
Yeah, incredible strength in times of necessity. I always like the story of Nat King Cole. Nat King Cole was a pianist, and he was a part of a band, and they get paid per gig. And he was a pianist, and they had a lead singer, and they had a gig, and it was all there, but the lead singer didn't show. And the band wanted to perform anyway, and the club owner says, "No lead singer, no money." And that night, Nat King Cole became a lead singer.
Absolutely.
No lead singer, no money. I need the money. I'm gonna sing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he became an amazing lead singer. It all started from that. You know what these possibilities do? These ingredients do? It adds another thing called the mighty big M, motivation. He got motivated then.
Yes. We think about that in the scenarios where really amazing creations have been made to help to facilitate someone else's life. It's often also out of love. That imagination combined with love and motivation, that love is the motivator actually, that becomes the ingredient necessary to think outside of the box or beyond the limitations that we currently have. One of the stories we talked about this morning was the creations about all of these amazing robotics for people with different abilities.
Right. A hand that can grab and do things, and how can people who can't see use a computer learn how to use these things? Because it's a necessity. Alexander Graham Bell, he's given credit for inventing the telephone, the modern telephone. Well, he did, actually. He came up with a device where someone that wasn't in that room with you can actually hear you, okay? But he was actually trying to create a hearing aid for his wife. That was his original focus. And he found out, if I do this and this, the sound travels. Isn't that interesting? So he was on his way to find a device so that his wife that he loved could hear him better. He was trying to invent a hearing aid and ended up inventing the telephone.
Absolutely. Now, the reason why we're engaging in this conversation is not just for the sake of conversing, but to help you if you may feel in this moment in some area that there is a stuck feeling or a feeling of hopelessness. You can actually invite your mind on the journey to manifest what you want by challenging it with these tools and ingredients and adding them to your circumstance.
That's right. You may want something, but maybe that want needs to be warmed up. And if you add some of these things to it, or consider adding them to it at least, you know what? I want to be rich. By itself is not enough of a pull.
It's really not enough. And a lot of times we think that it is, but underlying a lot of times when a person is motivated simply by money, there's a lot of underlying things that they haven't been willing to admit to. They don't ever want to be in poverty again. They don't
want
ever
some significance.
They don't ever want to feel insignificant. They don't ever want, there's some underlying things. And those underlying things actually have a higher vibrational pull than just the desire to be rich. I did this challenge some years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago with my brother before even fully understanding what it was. He always wanted to be rich. That was the same thing he said. I just want to be rich. I just want to be rich. I just want to be rich. And I said, you don't just want to be rich. but let's pretend that you are rich, because he would continue to miss that mark. He would continue to miss the necessity for continuance on that goal. It would come up, it would spurts and starts, right? It would never be consistent. And I said to him, why do you want to be rich? Why do you think I want to be rich? I don't want to be poor. Why don't you want to be poor? What do you mean? Why do I not want to be poor? And we went on down that road, back and forth, back and forth. And ultimately, he wanted to be able to fund a boys and girls club for children in the inner city. We got to that through a series of, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that? Right. We got to that. He wanted to fund a boys and girls club in the inner city. And then the final question is, why did you want to do that? And then finally it was because if we had one when we were growing up, our mom wouldn't have had to work so hard.
Wow.
She wouldn't have to worry. She wouldn't have to, all of those things. So it really came back down to love. He wanted to prevent another mother.
Said, want to be rich.
Just want to be rich.
But what he really wanted was to facilitate moms not having to worry about the children because he loves his mom.
Absolutely. And the vibrational energy associated with that is so much more powerful than I just want to be rich.
Yeah.
It's just so much more powerful. So let's play this game with you and your situation. And you don't have to post what your situation is. You don't even have to have an eminent one. And a lot of times we've minimized it because we've already decided that there's no way. What if you dusted off that thing that you thought that there was no way? And then you
infuse it with some possibilities.
With some possibilities. And then even began to apply infinite possibilities, realizing that maybe all of them are not going to be the one, but what if there is one?
Isn't it fun to explore these higher-minded thoughts? Isn't it? Sister Felicia, what's she talking about?
She says, there was a time in my life that I had one bad situation after another with no end, that I almost to the point of a nervous breakdown. It seemed like there was no way out. And that's when I had no option but to walk by faith, not by sight.
Amen.
I had to humble myself to explore all the possibilities. And in that, I was able to come out of that situation victorious. Absolutely.
With explanation points.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Felicia. It is so important to know that we all know that faith is the ultimate ingredient, right? But sometimes we don't know that our faith is attached to these other ingredients. Faith is almost like salt, right? So when you put the garlic powder and the onion powder and the pepper and the paprika and everything, you have a pretty good roux, right? But that food is not gonna pop until you add the salt.
Because the salt makes everything else work better.
Absolutely.
The salt makes the garlic pop and the pepper pop. The salt is an ingredient that make other ingredients able to do what they do.
But now, if you just use salt by itself,
you get some seasoning, but you don't want to have a lot.
Right. It wouldn't be enough by itself. So now imagine that you had your situation, your imagination, a resolution that there was going to be a solution. You added to that necessity. This is something that you must have. And then add to it love, which is your overall motivator. Imagine that and put that all together with your situation and your circumstance. And what do you believe that you might come up with? Do you think that you might actually find a solution? Do you think that if you realized all of those components, or if you attached and included all of those components to your situation, that you might be more likely?
If you were able to ratchet up the reasons why you want the desired outcome. I want this because this is important, or because I want to see this. If you
and why is it important? And why is it?
Yes.
Why is it? Why is it? Why is it? Why is it? So again, back to the movie Ice Road. There was a series of circumstances. So they started out with the 3 trucks. Each of those trucks individually had what was necessary for the rescue. So it was redundancy was created. So all 3 trucks had exactly what was needed for the rescue mission. The first truck out the gate was sabotaged by gasoline.
Yes. They put gasoline into a diesel engine, and it just it's not going to work very well. Not for long, anyway.
No. Mm-hmm. So that sabotaged that one. That first one was sabotaged. The driver got out to try to resolve it, got his leg tied around the cable. They were trying to pull it out, and he got drowned.
His truck sucked, and his trailer sunk down into the ground,
into the
ice water, and gone.
He's gone.
Out the way.
Right. So now we've got these 2.
And that's horrible now going on.
Horrible.
Okay.
It was horrible. And it was enough to make you resolve, you know what? We're not going to continue with this. We're going to go forward.
But hold on. Now you said you would think that's enough. Okay, no. We're not doing this. This is too dangerous. We've already lost one man's life. We already lost this $200,000 truck. Okay, we lost a lot already. Maybe this is not going to happen. But there was 26 people trapped in the mine.
Yes.
That needed what you had.
And they still had the money on the line.
And you need the money.
And you need the money. And they're like making a big payout to this. And all 3 drivers had decided that if we get there, we split it 3 ways, right? If we get there, we get this there. Whichever truck makes it, we get to split this 3 ways, right? Mm-hmm. So now, Grand Risings, Miss Vivian. So now we are on this passage, and there is a traitor amongst them. And this traitor is, amen, this traitor is now trying to convince the last driver that the second driver is the saboteur. But that's not true. So Beverly goes on to say, I want to own my time to help the homeless and also to spoil my grands. I want to create a nonviolent sisterhood of support for strength and value for motivation and direction. I want to begin the unique cybercrime unit to slow down these people from scamming people.
I love all of that. Unique cybercrime unit to slow down these people from scamming people. There's so many scams going online right now. And she also wants to own her time so that she can actually help the homeless. I had a friend who was not very positive all the time. Okay. Most of the time he wasn't, but he made good money, but that was all. And he used to say stuff like, see, that's the problem with people who don't make money. They say they want to help people. They don't have any money to help them. Oof. What a harsh thing to say, right? That's why you should focus on making your money so then you'll have money to help people. What a harsh and ugly thing to say, right? But was he right? You need to have money in order to give. You can't give from an empty pot.
There's some truth in that. So we go on in this journey now, again, needing to find a solution. How do we get this truck from point A to point B to help these people and come up against another obstacle? Understand that on your road to success, on your path to greatness, you may be met with resistance.
And there is some saboteurs in your life.
And there are some saboteurs in your life. Some of those saboteurs are intentional saboteurs, and some of those saboteurs are actually trying to protect you, but they don't realize that they are getting in your way.
And I think some of that saboteur is a benefit because life is strengthening you in an area that you're going to need to be strong in when you achieve the result that you desire.
Absolutely.
Okay? So if you can't handle criticism, okay, you're going to get some criticism because when you achieve the goal, there's going to be more criticism, then more, not less. So if you've learned how to handle it along the way, it's not going to throw you there. Okay?
Absolutely. And speaking of which, hey, Brittany, good morning. Speaking of which, those circumstances that made those drivers unique were strengthened because of the challenges that they went through. Thank you.
It was unplugged.
I see we're at 63%. Those obstacles that they met were responded to so seamlessly because they had already been in and through some harrowing circumstances.
Oh my gosh. That was over and over again. I'm like, how are they going to get out of this? But they knew how to get out of it.
They knew how to get out of it because they had figured it out. They had been through it before. They had done some of those things before. So some of the stuff that you're getting up against is preparing you for that circumstance. Was it in? No.
Wait. So there's some of you guys right now that are mature in age, okay? And you'll hear a story from a teenager or a 20-something-year-old. There's no way. How can we possibly do that? And you'll chuckle to yourself and say, yeah, you can easily handle it. Just do this, this, and this. Wow, I had no idea that would work because you've been through that already. Okay, you know how to handle that.
Same thing like a grandmother, a great grandmother coaching a young new mother, right? There's some things that new young mother is freaking out about, and that grandmother is doing one-handed.
Yes. How about there's nothing to eat in this house?
Oh,
and then grandma walk into the kitchen and come out
with a feast.
With a freaking feast. Where did that food come from?
It was all in there, but it was ingredients. So understand that some of the challenges that you are facing in life now are providing you with the ingredients, resources that you can leverage to create the infinite positive possibilities that you need to create in your life. Beverly says, I was told by a police officer when I was scammed that scams have moved up the charts of crime since U.S. work has been outsourced. These non-English speaking people have access to all of you who are. Be aware and careful. Thank you.
As
absolutely.
much as you can, yes.
Absolutely. So I was listening to Tony Robbins on Saturday morning or something like that. And he was talking about these hairpin turns that he was learning from a race car driver, instructor, or whatever. And when they were teaching that, they actually didn't teach them how to drive. They taught them how to turn. They taught them how to turn because the driving wouldn't kill you. The not knowing how to properly turn would. And so he would teach them by having them do 80 miles an hour facing this wall, and they had to turn at such and such a point in time in order to avoid that wall. Well, Tony Robbins said that he was scared to death, and every time he got behind the wheel, because they had to do it a few times, that the first time he got behind the wheel, he was freaking out. Now, the driver trainer was in the car with him, and they would be sitting in the car, and they would go, and he would say, increase your speed, increase your speed, increase your speed. And the wall was in front. And he said that Tony Robbins would look directly at the wall as they were getting to the wall, and the driver's instructor turned his head.
Yep.
Turned his head.
That's right.
Like in the middle of, I'm trying to, do you see this wall? We don't want to see the wall. Mm-hmm. Right?
Look in the direction.
Direction that you want to go. But he literally turned his head. And so I'm like, why is he teaching him this way in the midst of all of this? He had learned enough to know that if you look at the wall, you're going to drive into the wall. But if you look at the road off of the side of the wall, even knowing that this was a novice, that he would not hit that wall. And that was ultimately what happened. We get to learn from the experiences, our own experiences, or we get to learn from the experiences of others.
So many lessons in the race car driving training. I love the story about turning his head. Okay, so he's not just looking at the doom, the wall coming up. There's this other thing they train in race car driver training. They call it a tight. When you're in a tight, where there's a car on this side of you and a car on this side of you and an opening in front of you, but the opening is small. What are you going to do? They said, if you need to focus on the opening. Look at and think about the opening, not to the car to the left, not to the car on the right. Because if you look at the car on the left, you're going to drift towards the car on the left.
Absolutely.
If you look at the car on the right, you're going to drift towards that.
Absolutely.
Look at the tight, look at the opening. And you focus on that opening, that's where your vehicle's going to go.
Absolutely.
Hallelujah. Holy Spirit, come down right now. Look where you're wanting to go.
That's right.
Stop looking so much at where you don't want to go.
Absolutely. Dr. Deborah said, now that spoke to me. Look in the direction of what you want to go. That's actually what I think amalgamated with the movie and the thoughts in my dream. It's like, you know what? You're in a dream dreaming something that you don't want.
Mm.
What kind of foolishness is that?
Turn your head, girl.
I got to turn my head.
Brother Mark Greer says, what you go through today is often preparing you for tomorrow. Everything is temporary unless we choose to make it permanent.
Ooh.
Focus on getting through the storm. Don't get stuck in it. That's the other analogy that we say all the time. When you're driving on long drives, and we take long drives from time to time, sometimes you'll drive into a rainstorm. You drive into the rainstorm. How about that? And sometimes we see cars pulled off to the side of the road. I guess their imagination is they're going to wait out the rainstorm. But what we've noticed every single time, if we keep driving through the rainstorm just as easy as we drove in it, we drive right on out of the rainstorm. The rainstorm is still going on, but we drove out of it by keeping moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes you can activate your faith in such a way to put the rain actually behind you. I shared this story with you guys a few months ago. Michelle DeWitt was on to corroborate it. We had a summer enrichment program, and the last day of camp was supposed to be a field trip to Carowinds. But on the day of the field trip, the weather forecast was torrential rain. From the very beginning of the day, it was 80% chance of rain. It was rain. It was going to be raining. It was raining. And the children on that bus, because this was going to be their last chance for their last trip, decided that it was not going to rain. We said to them, we can't go. Unfortunately, it's going to rain. We're sorry. Da, 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 da. And they said, it's not going to rain. Our Bible study said, even the wind and the sea obey him. Now, these were children from the ages of 6 to 10 before the world had a chance to corrupt their faith. They were standing on the fact that if we petitioned God to hold back the rain, well, he will hold back the rain. And I'm going to tell y'all what, he held back that rain. It was their faith combined with the activation of that driver who got behind the wheel of their bus. That was Michelle DeWitt. And established in the mouth of 2 or more witnesses, we got on that bus, and I'm telling you,
they went to Carowinds.
We went to Carowinds, had the time of our lives because there was hardly anyone else there, and then made our way back to church. Amen, Keturah. We made our way back to the church with the rain behind us the entire way. It did not come near us until we were finished with the day.
Now imagine that story. I always love that story because you're telling this group of kids, first off, for the rest of their lives, they're going to have activated faith.
Woo, come on now. This is the truth.
Okay. Because they've seen it happen. Okay. But I imagine you telling that group of kids, look, the weather forecast says this. And I imagine there's one child that says, no, it's not going to rain on us. Mm-hmm. And then another child picked up on that vibration of that first child. That's right. Our Sunday school says even the weather. And then another child and another child. Woo. It started off with one person that says, believing, no, I want to have this fun. I want to go on this trip. We're prepared to go on this trip. We deserve to go on this trip. The Lord is not going to let it rain and take away our trip from us. Nope, it's not going to rain. That faith.
And the thing is, they didn't have the wherewithal to say, this is too trivial a request to make of God. They did not have, that thought didn't even come to them. How many times do we not take a petition to God because we think that it's too small?
I've even said it to my pastor in the conference. Pastor, there's a lot of things I need to look to God for. I'm in my 20s saying this to pastor, but I think some of them are just small compared to what other people need. And he's like, Brian, God don't look at your situation like that. You look at it like that, but he doesn't. Beverly says,
she says, I adore my mother. I saw her battered by my father. And when she finally left, I witnessed her have a nervous breakdown and go to work the next day. She had children that depended on her to keep it moving. And I vowed to give her whatever she desired because she deserves it. She never gave up.
With an exclamation point, she never gave up.
Amen.
Beverly also says, getting through storms for me are becoming easier. The unexpected showers are not catching me off guard any longer. Through it all, I'm, in capital letters, expecting greater.
Amen. Amen. Expecting greater. I think expectation is one of those ingredients. What do you think? You think you got to have expectation? I think you do. Expectation is faith. Expectation is
is a lot. It's huge. How many times we told the story on here about the experiment in schools, where they, at the end of the school year, they called 3 teachers together, said, you guys have demonstrated exceptional skill. We're going to reward you next year with 30 amazing students each. Okay. The students we're going to give you guys, they have demonstrated a unique capacity to learn. So as a reward for you being such great teachers, we're going to give you great students. Next school year comes, the 3 great teachers got these 30 great students. And just as you would imagine, they had a phenomenal school year. They tested off the charts. The teachers enjoyed the students enjoyed the teachers. Best year. At the end of the school year, they brought the teachers in and told them that they had ran an experiment on them. They said, the students that we gave you guys, there was nothing exceptional about them at all. We chose all those students at random. Okay. And the teachers were like, okay, well, we're such great teachers. I guess that's why we had such a great year. So actually, we chose you 3 randomly as well. We pulled your names out of a hat. But what it demonstrated, when they expected to have great students, when they expected to have a great year, they did. They did.
And how much then can we apply this wisdom to whatever you're dealing with today? Thank you, Keturah. Keturah says, you two are amazing influencers of all things.
Of all things. That's nice.
I thank you for that.
Me too.
Felicia says, whenever possible, we should share our testimonies. Our testimonies give power, hope, and solutions to those in need while giving God the glory. I definitely agree. For a second. Okay. Well, absolutely. I definitely agree. And on the first Tuesday of the month, Women's Empowerment Networks gets together virtually, and that is what we do. We share the testimony of our individual experiences, whether that testimony is about your business, your life, your relationship. You have been blessed from first Tuesday to first Tuesday to have something to celebrate for. And
Shout
we
out
want to
to
celebrate with you.
Deacon Robert Welch, because I'm not going to be able to do it as well as he could. But he has this mission that you're supposed to tell your testimonies. You're supposed to tell your testimonies, the good and the bad. You got to tell. You can't keep that to yourself. No. He does it better than I'm doing it right now. But he makes it you feel like it is so important for you to tell your testimony, share your testimony, and such a crime if you don't.
Well, it is. If you think about what the Word of God says, that we are overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. That the blood of the Lamb is supposed to be the most powerful thing, but he paired it with the words of our testimony.
And the words of
paired it with the words of our testimony. What does that tell you about keeping your story a secret? You're robbing someone of the opportunity to believe for themselves what God has already done for you.
And you just don't know who needed to hear your testimony.
Yes. They may not can relate to David. They might not be able to relate to Moses or Esther or any of those testimonies that have been captured in the Bible, but quite possibly the thing that you overcame, the thing that you endured, the thing that God brought you out of is the very thing that they can relate to. It's the very ingredient that they needed to hang their faith on, because sometimes faith isn't just, it's not tangible enough if they can't see it or feel it. Right. They need to see somebody else with that success. I often believe that some of those great influencers are great because they have shown enough people that if I can do it, you can too.
It's 9:47 now on the first day of the week, and we're going to start the week off right. This show, again, is called Let's Talk About It. Personal conversations.
Spiritual information or business, personal information.
Personal conversations.
Business information.
And spiritual inspiration. No problem, baby.
With a little bit of shenanigans thrown in.
Anybody. That's it. The show's been going since October of 2016, Monday through Friday. Some of you guys have been rocking with us for years.
Yes.
Some of you guys are consistent contributors to the show. Show does not work unless you contribute to the show.
Absolutely.
And we'd like to thank you and honor you. Some of you guys have earned a greeting song. Some of you guys have earned a greeting logo. And some of you guys have earned one and haven't yet gotten one, but we'll get to you. But we'll start from the top, baby.
Well, I want to capture these comments first. Dr. Deborah says, when people get together and focus on a thing and make their petition to God, they can shift the atmosphere. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Beverly says, the Bible says we are overcome. That's the strength. We overcome. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, first one up was Miss Phyllis.
Miss Phyllis is here. So clear the way. Miss Phyllis is here. Now we can all have a great day.
Good morning, Miss
The power
Phyllis.
of having Miss Phyllis here.
Katura's here.
Back to life. Back to Katura Green.
However do you want it? However
do you need it?
Do you need it?
Back to Katura Green. Dr. Deborah's in the house.
Good morning. Good morning. Dr. Deborah, healing and deliverance coach.
Good morning, Dr. Deborah. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're looking forward to this week. Brother William Brown from West Coast on the line here with us.
Yes.
It's now 6:49 where he is.
Woo!
Good morning to our friend Bill. Nobody thinks like him still. We love him so, and we always will.
Our friend Bill.
Where's our girl Jacqueline Rosier? Pastor, you need a song. George Allen, come on, help us find you one.
Absolutely. Good morning,
You deserve
Felicia.
one. Felicia's jam is
Felicia.
We
love you. You're the one for me. Good morning to you.
Dr. Beverly is on the show. Good morning, Dr. Beverly. How you doing?
Good morning.
Miss Vivian is here.
Whoa, Vivian.
Vivian Reed is here.
Vivian Reed is here, and now the show can go on.
Brittany Thomas swung through.
It's Brittany. It's Brittany. It's Brittany.
Brittany Thomas.
It's Brittany. It's Brittany. It's Brittany. Brittany. It's your time. It's your time. Yeah. Good morning, Brittany.
Brother Mark
Good
Greer
morning.
is here. So wide you can't get around it. So low you can't get under it. So high you can't get over it. Mark Greer is under a groove, getting down just for the funk of it. Mark Greer is under a groove. Nothing can stop us now.
Good morning. Good morning.
That's our man throwing down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's all we caught up on our jams. Okay, good.
Yes, we are all caught up. I think
I am excited about the beginning of this week. Can you just feel it in the air?
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
That's right, Beverly. Where's Josh Smalls, Melissa Price, Blackwell? Where's Lenita Sakina Smith, Brenda Booker Bull, Craig Sav?
I know.
Where they at? Where they at, dude?
I texted with Brenda Booker Bull last night, and it was so funny. She said that she had Brittany Thomas's song rolling around in her head. It's so funny how everybody is connected.
Well, what she said was she has a current client named Brittany, and every time she thinks about calling that client, she hears Brittany's song.
It's Brittany time.
How cool is that?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're so grateful. I hope that this helped to ignite your imagination, because ultimately that's what we are talking about. We're talking about your imagination actually being the resolution for your objective.
That's what we talked about today. We almost had a different topic today, because I woke up wanting to talk about, why do people go to work? Why do you go to work in the first place? And why do you do anything? And if you say just to get the money, I'm gonna tell you that's not it. That's not it by itself. It's just not.
Nope.
In a classic movie, The Office Space, the guy recalls a situation where his high school guidance counselor asked him, "What would you do if you were given $1 million?" And then whatever you said, apparently that's supposed to be your career path. So if you said you would fix up old cars, maybe you should be a mechanic, And he says, if I was given $1 million and didn't have to work, he said, I would do nothing. I would sit on my butt all day long and just relax. That was his dream, to do nothing. Okay. Now the other guy, he said, what about you? What would you do if you had $1 million? I tell you what I'd do if I had $1 million. 2 chicks at the same time. He said, I believe $1 million, I can hook that up. What would you do? Anyway, it's 9:54. We got to get out of here.
Or something.
I'm looking forward to my work week. There's just so much I want to get done this week. We have those of you guys who track your weeks, those of you guys who track your months. Starting today, we've got 10 more working days this month. We got 5 this week and 5 next week before the month ends. So look at where you are on your monthly goals and your targets. You still got 10 more working days. This is working out perfectly on the calendar. We have 5 Mondays this month, and we still got 10 more working days. I am slightly ahead of my monetary goal for the month. I'm a little bit ahead, but I still got 10 more working days to crack my nut to get the things done that I want to get done.
Absolutely. And we certainly are going to be sending prayers to you that you get re-engaged with your day.
This is a lot of time. Yeah.
With your potential. Use your imagination for you.
If you can't do it yourself, holler at me, holler at Lisa, reach out to us. Let us see if we can be helpful.
Absolutely. We love you. And don't forget to have sex.